Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I guess I'll say that after. So I'm reading from the preaching lessons. Is the camera on?
Yes, on. Lights, camera, action. Let's go. No pressure.
As a camera, I get nervous. It's probably due to my past some scars. Camera too, at the same time, it could be good because
You don't speak nonsense.
when I was young, I got accused of doing something I didn't. And then said that on camera. You know, me committing a crime. I mean, there was somebody spit on the teacher, and they said I did it. And anyways, they said they had it on camera and this and that, and I was going to get in big trouble, and they just told me to admit to it. And I said I didn't do it, and they said we have it on camera. We saw you do it. I said get the camera. Let me see. And then they left me alone.
Wow.
Anyways.
Cover the microphone. Cover the microscope.
That's how we do it in the business, huh?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I probably won't. I don't think I remember exactly which one we read yesterday. Vishwachira. There he goes.
136.
136.
Yeah. What?
I was going to ask you which one we read yesterday. He says 1 3. I don't.
No, I thought you were talking about it.
Oh, I see.
You didn't even read it, bro.
I think.
The last one I read was the Prahlad Maharaj one.
I think I remember this one this morning.
Yeah, it kind of is. You guys think.
I remember him reading this one. Okay. Devotees out of compassion are kind to the ignorant mass of people and therefore preach and are blessed by the demigods. Pure devotees out of compassion for the fallen souls are kripalu, very kind to the people in general. They distribute the Bhagavatam knowledge all over the world. A kind-hearted devotee is called Dinanath, protector of the poor, ignorant mass of people. Lord Krishna is also known as Dinanath or Dinabandhu, the master or actual friend of the poor living entities. And his pure devotee also takes the same position of Dinanath. The Dinanaths, or devotees of the Lord, who preach the path of devotional service, become favorites of the demigods. The demigods are automatically pleased with him and offer all the blessings within their capacity. Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, Text 51. Alrighty. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 6. Krishna is the source of all incarnations, which is a controversial subject.
That's for sure.
Anyways, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, right? So, Saha Eva Pratamam Devaha Kumaram sargam
Sargam
ashritaha
Ashritaha
chachara
Chachara
dushcharam
Dushcharam
brahma
Brahma
brahmacharyam
Brahmacharyam
akaditam
Akhanditam
sa eva patamam devaha
Saeva Patamam Deva
Komaram sargam ashritaha
Komaram Sargamashitaha
chachara dushcharam brahma
Chara Dushcharam Brahma
brahmacharyam akihatitam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
sa eva pratamam devaha
Saeva Patamam Deva
Komaram sargam ashritaha
Komaram Sargamashitaha
chachara dushcharam brahma
Chara Dushcharam Brahma
brahmacharyam akaditam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
sa eva pratamam devaha
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Komaram sargam ashritaha
Komaram Sargamashitaha
chachara dushcharam brahma
Chara Dushcharam Brahma
brahmacharyam akhanditam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Kaumaram Sargamashita
Kumaram Sargamashitaha
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam Saeva Deva
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Kumaram Sargamashitaha
Kaumaram Sargamashita
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Chachara Dushcharam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Saeva Padamam Deva
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Komaram Sargamashitaha
Komaram Sargamashitaha
Chara Dushcharam Brahma
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Brahmacharyam Akanditam
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Kumaram Sargamashitaha
Kaumaram Sargamashita
Dushkaram Brahma
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Brahmacharya Vakandita
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Anybody else?
It's all about us.
This but the rhyme.
Saeva
Nice.
You want to chant it? Okay.
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Saeva Pratamam Deva
Kumaram Sargamashitaha
Kumaram Sargamashitaha
Chara Dushkaram Brahma
Chachara Dushcharam Brahma
Brahmacharyam Akhandita
Brahmacharyam Akhanditam
Alright. Saha
Saha
that
that
eva
Eva
certainly
certainly
pratamam
Pratamam
first
first
devaha
Deva
supreme lord
Supreme Lord
Komaram
Kaumaram
the Kumaras
name the Kumara
oh sorry name the Kumaras
Name the Kumaras
Kumara
unmarried
Unmarried
sargam
Sargam
creation
creation
ashritaha
Ashitaha
under
under
chachara
Chachara
performed
performed
dushcharam
Dushcharam
very difficult to do
very difficult to do
Brahma
Brahma
and the order of Brahman
in the order of Brahma
Brahmacharyam
Brahmacharyam
Soyam
under discipline to realize the absolute Brahman
under discipline to realize the absolute Brahma
akhanditam
Kanditam
unbroken. Translation. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the four unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. Purport. That's pretty loud, huh? Purport. The creation of the material world is effected, maintained, and then again annihilated at certain intervals. So there are different names of the creation in terms of the particular types of Brahma, the father of the living beings in the creation. The Kumars, as above mentioned, appeared in the Komara creation of the material world. And to teach us the process of Brahman realization, they underwent a severe type of disciplinary action as bachelors. These Kumars are empowered incarnations, and before executing the severe type of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified brahmanas. This example suggests that one must first acquire the qualifications of a brahmana, not simply by birth, but also by quality. And then one can undergo the process of Brahman realization. Om Gana Timanandasya Gananjanjana Salakaya Chakshura Anitannena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shranam Rupa Kadamayam Dadate Swagarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiktaha Parkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagujatam Saranavaganatam Itam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Vadan Sakananaritam Shri Vishakamitam Sja Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the four unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumars, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So, this this truth is being put forth that where to start from? So the Kumars are being explained as empowered incarnations of Krishna. So Krishna is the ability in man. There's so many in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita gives all these understandings how you can see Krishna in nature and the greatest and different things like that. So of those, it's described that the Kumars, I believe, are empowered with the Jnana Shakti of the Lord. So they're very knowledgeable. No, Jnana. Jnana. Ajnana means ignorance. So they're intelligent. It's Jnana. So they have their own, I wouldn't say their own. What was the exact word for this? The Sampradaya head of one of the four bona fide Sampradayas that are out there, known as the Kumar Sampradaya. And so, it's, they're not necessarily the head of our Sampradaya, but they're spoken of in the Bhagavatam, and they give good instructions, and they're gurus in that sense, and they're pure devotees. So they're highly revered, just like, there's so many great devotees of the Lord, and, we don't have to, even if they may not be a part of our particular spiritual gotra. There's described that there's the material gotra, which is lineage or heritage, and then there's spiritual. So one side, we can look at and say, well, this is my family, this is here, that, and that, and they go from here. Some of my lineage of this body is, whatever, it comes from Czechoslovakia, that, Africa, all that stuff, and probably some other stuff too that I've been inquired into. But the more important than this body is the spiritual gotra, which I've taken initiation in the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, and following in that. So Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Gaur Kishore, that's Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like this. So this is a more important. So, I mean, because now, in ISKCON, generally people ask, "Who's your spiritual master?" That's usually the first question that somebody asks an individual. And so there's some importance there. What is your qualification? Because if you're initiated by a spiritual master who's in good standing, then there's some respect is given to you there, because this person is serious. He's taken shelter in this individual. He's being trained in this manner. So the Kumars, they're sons of Brahma, and they were also took some instruction from Brahma also, and were trained. So in the beginning of so the understanding also is given in the beginning of the creation, Komara. So we can understand that in the creation of the material of the cosmic manifestation, that there's different steps and different developments. So just like when an individual is first born, we'll just start from instead of conception. When an individual is first born, a little baby or whatever, it goes through some stages. Baby, I don't know the technical terms of all these different things, but the baby has different activities. Learns to walk, talk, things like that. So the beginning of the cosmic manifestation, there's the manifestation of different individuals who are set to propagate not propagate, but to give birth and give form to the other living entities, called progenitors. And so the Kumaras, due to their past activity, they were given that post. They were one of the first, as far as I understand, and from the reading, they were the first after Brahma. And so they were created, and Brahma told them, "Okay, now you've created, go forth and create progeny." Because these living entities, first of all, so when they're born, these higher living entities, they don't come popping out of the womb all nasty and full of pus, this and that, crying and eyes closed, and you have to put them, this and that, all these different things. They're generally some of them you read that they're born fully capable intellectually of mystic powers and things of that nature, grown up already, grown up in the sense of the prime age of beauty, of sense gratification, like that. Generally middle age is like around that is the most beautiful, and one has the strongest senses. And the fourth canto, when it's described that Dhruva Maharaj is blessed to rule the kingdom for so many years, and it's described that he'll rule the kingdom, I think, was something for like 36,000 years, and he'll be fully equipped to enjoy and have full sensory perception. And so in those 36,000 years, more or less is understood that he wouldn't suffer from old age and be impaired in sense gratification. So the Kumars, when they were born, they I don't know the exact details, but for whatever reason, they remained as children. So little babies of 4 or 5 years old are not the number one candidates to propagate the universe of children. Because they're little babies. That understood, babies don't engage in sex life. That's well known amongst people in the world. What is it? They have this saying. At least I was growing up, when they would say we're gonna. They have to talk about the birds and the bees, or sexual education. So in school growing up, they had this sexual education class when children were older. This wasn't something that was implemented in elementary school. So the Kumars, they didn't want to grow up, and that was a problem for Lord Brahma, because he had different duties to instigate, which was carrying out the orders of the Lord, doing his devotional service. And so the Kumars, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to remain as children. So this, and the reason was for that, as stated in this verse, Chara Dusharam Brahma Brahmacharyam Atakanditam. They wish to stay as young children in order to be freed from the entanglement that comes when one accepts the responsibility to enter the Grihastha ashram and accept wife, children, home, all these different things. They're very intelligent, like we were saying, at a young age. So they didn't want to become old. Brahma was very angry at that. But though they disobey the order of their father, one of the important things is that they actually they carried through with that. It would be even more of a disgrace if they were to disobey the orders of their father Brahma and just completely just fall down. Because it'd be, you did this thing, you disobeyed your duty to your father, and then you just, you tried to be brahmachari and it didn't work out, you just failed. So you failed in both aspects. But they did this in the pursuit of devotional service to realize the absolute truth. So that's for a higher cause. And sometimes these different duties, there's a verse given, I forget exactly where it is at. I think it's in the 4th canto. But it says that pretty much, paraphrasing, that one can, by performing devotional service to Krishna, one gives up or is absolved of the duties to his forefathers, to the great sages, the demigods, to one's nation. All these different things are absolved and one renders service to Krishna. So the 4 Kumaras went in this direction. And we can understand, it's a very difficult thing to do, especially, at that particular point in time, because they were, it's sometimes, it wasn't that they were impotent or there was something deficient in them, and it was just maybe, Brahma was thinking, maybe you should just be a brahmachari because, it's not going to work out for you. You're not so attractive. No, this wasn't the case at all. They were the direct sons of Lord Brahma, so it's understood, that they were very well qualified. So to take a vow of such a caliber and to live such a life of a brahmachari in pursuit of the absolute truth, unfazed by one's material qualifications, is a sign of great, great spiritual piety, in the sense that of previous cultivation of devotional service. So it's described the same thing with Maharaj Bharat, that he gave up his great and beautiful wife, the association of his sons, his kingdom, his elephants, all the wealth, the whole world, just like it was an untouchable stool, due to Uttama Sloka Lalasasa, due to the taste that one gets from the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service. So the Kumaras, and that is the way of true renunciation. So Prabhupada is making the one point here, is that they underwent a type of disciplinary action as bachelors. What does he say something before that? So teach the Brahman realization. So these are empowered incarnations and before executing. So another point Prabhupada makes in the purport is, before executing the severe types of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified brahmanas. The example suggests that one must first acquire the qualifications of a brahmana, not simply by birth but also by quality. So they proved themselves as brahmanas by, it's making the point here that they were engaging in severe types of disciplinary actions. So that one of those main ones, of course, is the vow of brahmacharya, which they are still carrying out today, unbroken, akhanditam. So generally here, it's also very difficult to do. It's to remain brahmachari throughout one's life. No matter how long your life is, it's very difficult to do. Whether it's 10 years or thousands of years in the span of Lord Brahma, is a difficult task because Maya is very strong. Maya acts on a living entity. Let me think of the best way to say this. I don't want to say proportionately to the living entity, but she acts on the living entity, I guess, accordingly to his desires and also to the material body which is given by the living entity. So to explain that further, so dog is attracted to another dog by the influence of Maya. Maya is acting on him accordingly to the body that one has, and that's due to the material desires. So Maya comes at the living entity just in the right way to try to attract him away. So the Kumars, I mean, I don't know their tests and things like that, but we can say that we've all had our own test, and there will continue to be tests, and one has to be fixed in his determination and discipline also. So under discipline to realize the absolute truth. That's what Prabhupada translates as brahmacharyam, under discipline, to realize the absolute truth. That's what it means to be a brahmachari, not that it's the, as Prabhupada's not saying here, sometimes it's what they say, the bachelor ashram. Huh? It's some. I mean, they're not really a brahmachari and they're not really married. They're just in between, and they're just waiting. It's not for spiritual cultivation. So to be an actual brahmachari is it's easy, but it's not easy. I mean, one just has to put himself under discipline. But what I mean by that is that the brahmachari ashram is dedicated to serving the spiritual master, and the purpose is dedicated to the absolute truth. That one is just hanging out or trying to live an easy life, or I'm just waiting until something else happens. One of my I guess strong convictions or points that I always think of and encourage others is that whatever one is doing, or one ashram that one is in, he should be serious about that. If one is a brahmachari, be a brahmachari. Don't associate with women. Be serious. Carry that out to the fullest. Carry out your duties and exemplify them to the highest degree. Just don't half it. Don't be, if you're going to be a brahmachari, don't be half a brahmachari. Or you just don't, you sleep in until 10 o'clock or whatever, this and that, and anytime someone asks you to do something, you get angry about it, don't want to do anything. I mean, we may have some knots in our head or anarthas in our heart. That's okay. We work on those, but it's whatever particular situation we're in, we should understand that we're representing something greater than ourselves, and we should strive to achieve that and uphold that. And if one is a grihasa, then also act like a grihasa. That also too. There's regulated. It's not just that one's a grihasa and he just has a ticket to associate with any woman that he likes, or do whatever he likes, or live a life of sense gratification. There's some sense gratification there minimally, because one is a grihasa, but one has a duty to show to society also, especially in modern today, of what it means to be a householder, not some grihamedi who is just living and just does this and does that, no control whatsoever. It's a great feat in this day what to speak of being a brahmachari, to be married to one individual and to live a regulated life like that is something amazing in this world. I was just say, people are surprised you've been married, even in our movement, somebody who's been married for 40, 50 years, it's like a shock. It's like, how is that possible? So amazing. But it's really not so amazing. It's just standard dharma. It's just if you say, oh, I haven't killed anybody, it's not like an amazing thing. This guy isn't a killer, It's not like, wow, it's natural. It's just natural. But people are amazed by these different things in this day and age. So the 4 Kumaras like that, they executed their duties very properly as brahmacharis. And also other ashrams, there's Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So whatever ashram one is in, he should carry it out. And the point of being in the ashram also, it's understood that the individual may not be on the highest plateau of that ashram, but in that one takes steps by steps to achieve that. The main point not falling back. Sannyas also, all these different types of ashrams. But particularly for us, and also too, you have the ashrams, but then you also have the gender also. So there's different. This is all very much elaborated in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, I think, text or chapter 11. So many 11. That's like the end of it. Duties of the different ashrams, given by Narada Muni. It's instructs that. So. There's different duties for different individuals, and this is all help to obtain and realizing the absolute truth. in that way. So these, where'd you go? So the Kumars like that were exemplary brahmacharis. And little children also, that made it easier too. And then the little children, they don't, there's no child goes of 4 or 5 years old, looking for a job or applying for work.
Yeah.
It's a whole different psychological view of an individual comes to the mind when he sees a little child. When you see, well, at least when I see some kid, I don't think, in a minute. But when I see some children or something, I don't think like, oh, this child here is a very hard worker and he probably has a family, this and that. This is when I see a little child, I think, oh, where's his mother, where's his father? Yeah, he's being silly. Oh, this little kid, he doesn't know so much. That's why in the 4th canto it's described that when I forget exactly, it's not the 7th canto. When Hiranyakashipu is instructing his parents, his mother, and some of his associates, he gives the example of a king that dies, and then he's biting his lip, and he's dead on the battlefield, and he went down in a fight. And then his different wives come around him, and they're crying, and they're lamenting. And I believe it's Dharmaraj comes up in the form of a baby and begins to speak philosophy. So then Prabhupada makes a point in the purport that it's very wonderful that the little baby is coming and speaking philosophy. So in this way, people are amazed by the magic of children. You make some comment you can make.
So the Kumaras, they stayed as children?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when they were born, they didn't. So that was the problem that Brahma had with them. They didn't want to grow up. The point is they stayed as little children, so they weren't agitated by the sex impulse. Because a child is not sexually agitated. Because those parts aren't developed in the children.
This is why they wanted to stay as children?
Yeah, they wanted to be brahmacharis.
And use their mystic power or something to just keep it.
Yeah, because they just wanted to focus their lives on realizing absolute truth. That's what this verse is saying. So, and that's the point they make also. So they being situated in a vow of celibacy underwent severe austerities for realization of absolute truth. And this will be spoken of more. So they didn't want to enter in that household life. So Brahma was very angry about this. I mean, he was angry, but he didn't really say anything. But it was manifested in his eyebrows. Someone gets mad but they don't say anything. Just like maybe they give that look like really intense, like, or whatever. They give that look. That's what happened to Brahma. He gave him that look, and he was just like, you guys. And he was so angry that Rudra appeared. So was, then Rudra was born from between his eyebrows. And there's a picture also. And
I love that one.
given of that, where Brahma's looking at them. And then Rudra appears. So the Prabhupada says that the face is the index of the mind. So the anger was revealed in his eyebrows. He was very angry. And he was just like, because you can imagine, and I'll read something here too. Brahma also, I'll just read that now, just in connection. Even though Brahma is the lack of a better word, the head honcho of the universe, he's, he has some problems. So this is here. So I kind of picked some different things in relation to the 4 Kumars. So this here is from the 11th canto, a conversation between an incarnation of Krishna called the Hamsa and a discussion between them. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read a paragraph that ties this little point in here. So this is just from the summary of that chapter. It's the last paragraph. So this is saying, Lord Brahma himself has no material cause. He is the cause of the creation of all living beings and is the greatest among the demigods. Yet even Brahma is always suffering agitation of the mind on account of the duties he has to perform. Therefore, when he was questioned by his sons, headed by Sanaka, who were born from his mind, about the means for driving away desires for sense gratification, he was incapable of giving them an answer. In order to receive some insight into this matter, he took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereupon the Supreme Lord appeared before him in the form of the swan incarnation, Lord Hamsa. Lord Hamsa proceeded to give instructions about the categorical identity of the self, the different statuses of consciousness, wakefulness, awareness, sleep, and deep sleep, and the means for conquering over material existence. The sages, headed by Sanaka, became freed from all their doubts by hearing the words of the Lord and worshipped him with pure devotion and mature love of God. So we can understand, which is a very interesting point, that even Brahmaloka, he is suffering from the mind. Because he gets stressed out. He's got things to do. That was the problem he had right at the beginning. That he had some work to do, and the four Kumaras didn't want to do what he was telling them to do. I mean, we can understand. You tell somebody to do something and they don't want to do it, and you get fried out. You're thinking, oh, how am I going to get this work done? It's like we all have different duties in the temple. If I decide, today I'm supposed to cook lunch. So if I decide, I'm not cooking lunch. And he's going to ask, why aren't you cooking lunch? We need you to cook lunch, this and that. It's like, I'm going to chant Sudha Nam. I'm going to go, I got to leave, I got to, realize the absolute truth. Or whatever, I want to hang out. I don't want to do it. So Vishnu would be fried out. He was thinking, man, I got to get this done. This guy's saying he doesn't want to do it. He wants to chant Sudha Nam. And it would stress him out. And he had to figure out how to do it. So Brahma's kind of in the same position. I mean, he's got to make sure things get done in the universe. And when somebody doesn't want to do what they're supposed to do, he gets fried out. And even then, I mean, other things, just doing his duties, he gets stressed out. Just like we read, I'm sure Brahma wasn't just like chilled out when the demigods came to him stressing out about Kamsa. They were like, this guy's down here, he's causing all these problems, you got to do something. And he was like, I got to do, whatever, I got to, whatever he was doing, I don't know what exactly Lord Brahma was doing, but he had to stop from his activities and go and approach the Supreme Personality God out in the milk ocean. And I mean, there's so many different examples like that. Even Brahma was chastised by the Supreme Personality God of Hiranyakashipu. Don't do this again, what you did. I mean, it was, it was of course a pastime, but I mean, there was, he wasn't like, hey, that was a really good idea. He gave him all these different benedictions and this and that, and you really caused a big problem for all your sons and daughters. Maybe try that one again. So in this way, I mean, Brahma is a great devotee, of course. So these are things to teach us a lesson. But even the point is that even he has some difficulty in carrying out his duty, just like we do. So we shouldn't fall into the illusion or think that I make this point often. Even no matter where we are in the material world, we will be in anxiety. So we should not be in the material world. We should try to go back home, back to Godhead. That is the goal of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, to convince us of that. And so the Kumaras, by their good example, are trying to convince us of that also. That we should be fixed in our determination and not unnecessarily become entangled in this material world. There is no need for that at all. So on a particular verse, that I really like, it is very simple. This is from the 4th canto. When the Prithu Maharaj meets with the Kumaras, and he receives instructions from them. So this is a very good verse, very simple, easy to remember. So Sanskrit, I don't exactly have memorized, but the translation is very easy. And I read the purport also. Let me see here. Okay. So let's go for it. Ata parataro loke pumsa swarta vatikarmaha yad adyanyasya prayastvam atmaha swavyatikramat. Swartha, right? So interest. Swa, I believe, is like one's own. And interest, artha, interest. So there's so many different interests that one may have. Endless. Canto 4, chapter 22, text 32. So the translation is as follows. This is the Kumaras. Very, very learned. So they engage in all these different activities. So from tapasya, especially, knowledge comes from tapasya, but especially when one is utilizing that tapasya to realize the absolute truth. And then that knowledge results in vigyan, which is, Prabhupada translates in different places as application of knowledge, specifically devotional service. I was reading in some other place, Prabhupada was translating gyan as devotional service and vigyan in that way. Because actually knowledge is devotional service. And it's what is called avidya is anything other than that. Anyways, Prabhupada's use of words. So the translation is, there is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. So that's a very huge point. I mean, there's so many different points to remember, but this is a very great one. And the four Kumaras are saying that if we think that there's something better for us or more important than, pursuing Krishna consciousness, then that's the biggest obstruction that one can have in his Krishna consciousness, is thinking that there's something more important that I could be doing in Krishna consciousness. There's something more important, or maybe it's more, this and that. I mean, there may be duties that one has, of course, just like when I wake up in the morning, kind of the first, the first goal is kind of to take a shower, and that's not has really anything to do with self-realization. It's important at that particular point in time, but the purpose of taking a shower is for the pleasure of Krishna and the devotees, because to not take a shower, coming out looking all grungy and being all nasty, and no one would want to touch me, and I wouldn't also be able to do the arti. People would be, thinking, don't, hey, you need to take a shower, you're nasty. Yeah, it says to brush your teeth and all these different things. So the goal of one's activities, our activities, are for Krishna's pleasure. And it should be we have to hear constantly, we have to remember, because we could sometimes be doing things in devotional service, but the weeds come up, and then we say we're doing it for Krishna, but we're not really doing it for Krishna. And then we start to have problems. We could say, just like we may need a car for the temple. Okay, we have a car right now. So it's, somebody just gave us some car, it's something fancy about that. But when we start saying, well, we need this car, we need a sports car, because if we have a sports car, then we'll be respected.
We need a
Hummer. We need a Hummer, because we could fit all the devotees in it, and it looks good. And
books in the back.
Yeah, we could put the books in the back. but you really don't need a Hummer. It says, there's this car for cheaper, this and that, but Hummer looks good. And then there's this big argument, this devotee is very adamant about how he needs a Hummer, and it just makes no sense, and it's completely, there's no point for it. But because that individual has material attachments, he's thinking that if we have this Hummer, then this will be good for Krishna consciousness. So these are described as a weeds, and there's so many different examples of that given, of weeds in devotional service. I might have one little short section saved. Let's see here. This is something different. But maybe I sent to, let me see here. I don't have anything, I don't think, saved right now in this, but it's described that one in particular is like diplomacy, being diplomatic in this way. It's a weed of devotional service. These are all given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita with Rupa Goswami. So we should be careful. So the main goal, the main focus, what is it? I think it's in the 10th, maybe 10. Let me see here. I think it's 10:8. It says that all progression is for Krishna. Let me see here. Particular sentence. Let's see. I don't see it in particular. What's this too? It's one of these purports probably makes the point that the goal of all progress is Krishna. So that should be the understanding of what we're doing every single second of why we're doing it. And so we should become careful. I mean, we always have to be attentive. It's described that spiritual life is like a razor's edge. So we have to be attentive in the execution of Krishna consciousness. And we should always keep this verse in mind. So many great verses. And Prabhupada, I'll read the purport here also, because Prabhupada just expands on this point. Human life is especially meant for self-realization. Self refers to the super self and the individual self, the supreme personality of Godhead and the living entity. When, however, one becomes more interested in the body and bodily sense gratification, he creates for himself instructions in the path of self-realization. By the influence of Maya, one becomes more interested in sense gratification, which is prohibited in this world for those interested in self-realization. Instead of becoming interested in sense gratification, one should divert his activities to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Soul. Anything performed contrary to this principle is certainly against one's self-interest. So the point being made is that if we give more attention or more emphasis onto sense gratification, then we'll just become more attracted to it. If we're on the path of self-realization. These particular instructions given for the 4 Kumaras are specifically for those on the path of self-realization. This isn't just like, he's just some random instructions. These are specifically for the jiva and cultivating Krishna consciousness. And there's instructions given previously that I read in previous classes. So we should be careful in that regards. And we should have good association also, so people can check us. Just for instance, if for some reason, I tell everybody, well, I can't make it out on Harinam for the next, every Friday because there's a dance rehearsal that I want to go to for the Broadway play that I'm trying out for. It's not going to fly. They're going to be, what are you talking about? Every Friday. Because this is good association, they'll say, bro, you stupid. You're wasting your time with this dancing. You don't even look good. You got this funny walk. You'll waste your time going to this rehearsal. You ain't even going to make it. Even if you were to make it, how long are you going to dance anyway? 10, 20 years, you're just wasting your time. So then that's good association. So then, that saves us from, the padam padam ya padam notation of Broadway. And so in that way, good association saves us. But in previous ages, people would go and cultivate self-realization alone. And they were sometimes sidetracked from that path. And we probably give so many examples. Vishwamrita, Maharaj Bharat at one point became sidetracked. So the good association, that kind of checks us. So in that way we don't get sidetracked in that way from our duties. There's so many ways, we can this and that. Even in the name of preaching, we can get sidetracked and give some emphasis on, we're doing this, for the nation, for, this and that, and we're trying to build up a strong, strong body of, getting, in the sense that we get sidetracked to where we're not really giving the pure message of Krishna consciousness, if Krishna is the supreme truth, this and that, it's, things become vague, and we give more of an emphasis on just religion and performing one's duty. What I mean by one's duty is we give an emphasis on, one should be perform no himsa, non-violent. And one should be truthful, and one should be moral, and these different things, instead of emphasizing on surrender to Krishna. Because without surrender to Krishna, one may be truthful, one may be honest, one may be a very good person, one may be moral, give charity, these different things. If one doesn't surrender to Krishna, then these different things are actually are himsa, jiva himsa. And this is given in the teachings of Rupa Goswami. Or the instructions of Rupa Goswami by Lord Chaitanya. He says, Prabhupada makes a point in the purport that if one, I could probably just read it because I have it, but if one, he's referring specifically to religious institutions, that if they don't give proper knowledge of the soul, let's see here, I think I just got it right here. Yeah, right here. There are many religious propagandists who do not know how the ultimate problems of life can be solved. And they also try to educate people in the form of sense gratification. This is also jiva himsa. Real knowledge is not given, and religionists mislead the general populace. So if one doesn't give what the actual goal of life is, what's the solution to all problems? What's the solution to all problems, Mozart? Krishna consciousness. So we have to explain to people that the particular problem they're having is due to lack of Krishna consciousness. That's the duty of us as servants of our spiritual masters and of Srila Prabhupada, is to explain how to apply Krishna consciousness in the modern day and age. And there's this one devotee, is it Sarma Boma? You may know. He wrote these different books about, he wrote one in particular that our Guru Maharaj always talks about, the oil. Yeah. Is his name Sahadev, I think? Yeah. Sahadev, not Sarma Boma, Sahadev. So he wrote this book about, in India, how, giving quotes from Prabhupada about how oil is just like not a viable energy resource, and how over time it'll just deteriorate, this and that. And somebody from the
chief minister of Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, he read that book and saw that, and he thought, wow, this man is amazing, he's so intelligent. Srila Prabhupada, he must have been a great businessman of oil, oil, because he just is so amazing. How did he know all these different things? And they gave Sahadev honorary degree, honorary PhD from that book. And so in that book, and he's other books too, he's talking about, cow protection and things. He gives the understanding of, how through, I haven't read the book, but he gives the point, through Krishna consciousness, these different things like that. And people recognize that. I mean, there's so many books that can be read. In 1966 or 67, Prabhupada wrote a letter to Roy Ram, what is like one of his editors at the time, of all these different subjects that he wanted to discuss for Back Home, Back to Godhead.
Is it available?
Yeah. I have it somewhere. I can find it very easily. He probably gives a huge list. It's not just like one or two things. It's like 30, 40, 50 things Prabhupada's talking about, from smashing Darwinism, creation, this and that, money, how money is a problem. Prabhupada also discussed that. Money, that they, I was reading that recently also. Reading somebody, in the, I think 16th or 17th chapter, Prabhupada talks about how they have this gold standard, but it's really bogus because it's not based on gold, because they have more money out than's in the gold reserves, and it's not, it's just this mental concoction. And he was saying if they're going to actually have gold standards, it should be real gold coins. And then Prabhupada, of course, said the economy should be based on grains, on milk, these different things, all these revolutionary ideas. So these have to be explained, and they have to be, defended. I mean, we speak and we give class to give these points, but we also have to understand very deeply these points and how to explain them to other people also. Because to explain things, because we have faith in Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual predecessors and devotees and everything, we have strong conviction of what's being placed in the purports. So we have a will and desire to see that implemented. But some people, they don't have faith, or for whatever reason. And it's not necessarily because they're like, some people are just straight up like demons, and they won't have faith no matter what you say. Just because Maya gives them that Shakti. You want to talk about the Agyan empowerment. What is it? Richard Dawkins and what is that other guys? Stephen Hawkins. What is that? What's that other? Dawkins, huh? God delusion. That there's.
Stephen Hawkins.
No, that's not Stephen Hawkins. That's Richard Dawkins. God delusion. I remember seeing that growing up in school. I didn't read the book. Somebody had it. Big intelligent guy. So then this God is just a leftover, I don't know what they say.
Unwanted virus in the DNA.
Yeah.
And those who are actually advanced, they don't really believe in God.
Yeah.
Those people whose DNA hasn't evolved properly, they believe.
Yeah. It's just some leftover, some garbage in the DNA. Mm-hmm. Just like, some extra chromosome, just like people that are born retarded. So these people have this, and people are more advanced, and they don't have this defunct in the brain. So these different points have to be challenged. And because people are mostly innocent, they'll listen, and they'll consider. Because they're just being misled. I mean, as Prabhupada would say, there's so many points, so many times. I mean, there's different other things also. There's scientism. Just like recently, there's this, I've read this theory, this physics, I don't even know, this physics thing. I thought physics was some science, but this is just some crazy idea. But this person got this big article, and they were saying how there's this universe that exists. What if it's not a parallel universe, but it's I don't know what they were giving like this idea. So like you have this thing on the water, and the reflection. There's a reflection of a universe of exactly like our universe, but everything is going backwards. And I was thinking, okay. So they were making everything, yeah, for real. So it's just crazy. So instead of so instead of Krishna Prasad's in there cooking Prasadam right now, so the whole thing would happen backwards. So he's cooking, so all he makes the rice, so all the water goes back into the rice, and then the rice goes back into the pot, and the water goes back into the tap, and this and that. And so that's pretty much the universe. Everything's just happening backwards. And then the Big Bang, so the Big Bang, everything exploded. Everything just goes back into the Big Bang. So that's like their their middle point. This is all based on so many different assumptions. One of the assumptions that there actually was a Big Bang that this all goes back into. Anyways, this is crazy. And so people these are going to be properly explained. The main thing why this is crazy, first of all, I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, there's this idea also is that, so first of all, there's this understanding that, the main thing is that there's this Big Bang. And the other understanding also is that there's no laws, there's no order in creation. Because if there was order, then things wouldn't just randomly just start going backwards and flowing into each other. I mean, this makes no sense. It's linear. The Bhagavatam gives the understanding that things wind up in the sense that, not that they go backwards, but they go back. Just like we have some activity in some room. So we're going to take prasadam here in a little bit. And I'm going to wrap up. It's about time. So we're going to take prasadam here in a little bit. And so after, we'll go down there, we'll take prasadam, and after we take a prasadam, somebody will clean up and put things up. But it's not that things happen backwards and there's a rewind. The time is going forward. And that is things, just like it's made in this purport. There's an effect, maintain, and then wind up, annihilation. In this way. And there's so many different things being put forth out there. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he wrote different books, and he's mainly in scientific debate and things like that. And one of his works is he's archaeologist, and he's proving the actual antiquity of man and Vedic truths. And so it's called forbidden archaeology. Yeah. Because, as I believe he coined the term, but there's a knowledge filter in universities and things. Knowledge filter means that the knowledge being given is being filtered to be accepted into an already existing paradigm. So anyway, so he's made these different discoveries and things like that, combating this other theories where they're saying, well, man actually arose, and we have these skeletons in Africa, the first man, Lucy, this and that, and in these caves, man has been discovered, and 3 million years we have this, and this is the missing link of man, and this and this and that. But it's bogus. One understanding we see, but there's not so many bodies found in the Vedic age is because the bodies were burned, because that was the culture, and the understanding was there. And then there's so many different examples. So Srila Prabhupada wanted his disciples to challenge these different points and to be explaining them to the populace. So that requires, some research and some understanding and some brainstorming and things like that to help convince these people at large and to combat this propaganda. Preaching means fighting, fighting. And so Brahma, all these different, all these great acharyas, Brahma also had to fight in a sense, in a different kind of fight, and the whole duty of a parampara is to expand that knowledge to others for others' benefits. Let's see here. And so, by reading the books regularly and by hearing regularly, and of course by taking shelter of Krishna and of spiritual masters, and in this way praying for the blessings of the predecessors, we can get the intelligence about how to combat this again and how to bring forth these teachings. Just like one, and I'll wrap up on this point, is being propagated this day and age that, so many points, but to not be celibate is very healthy. To engage in sex life as much as possible, that's very healthy. And masturbate, that's what the doctor tells you, is good to relieve stress. They put this forward, and then these people are innocent, they don't hear this. So these different things are being put forward. And there was one study, I believe, done at some university, and their understanding was that by engaging in sex life more, that one necessarily doesn't become happy. So, the Kumars, they exemplify that by that point. They're very happy. Some of these Sukadeva Goswami is very happy. Narada Muni is very happy. They're very free, and they've never engaged in sex life at all. No, and they're not crazy either. There's some people, you don't have sex, you'll go crazy, you'll go nuts. For one who is very lusty, he may go nuts and may go crazy. And so there's some regulation given there for that, But they showed by their example how that by living a life of celibacy, dedicated to the Supreme Absolute Truth, And also too, I mean, it's being pointed in here also, so many things can go. The beginning of creation, the most intelligent beings existed. Not that in the beginning that the people were, monkeys and this and they were stupid, and now we're becoming more advanced. That is being also challenged here. And there's so many different points that can be solidify this. So the Kumaras, we should follow in their footsteps. The main thing, above all, and I'll wrap up with this verse. This is spoken by Jutta Bharat, and this is the main point that we can learn from the Kumaras. My dear King Rahugana, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. One cannot realize the absolute truth simply by observing celibacy, brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of householder life, leaving home as a vanapras, accepting sannyas, or undergoing severe penances in winter by keeping oneself submerged in water, or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and the scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand the absolute truth. But the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has obtained the mercy of a great devotee. So, you have to attain the mercy of the great devotees. And then all these different things that we do, these mean by the mercy of devotees is why we're doing them, then the absolute truth is realized. But that's the main thing. So the Kumaras, they were devotees, and they got the mercy of specifically Tulsi. That was, from the lotus feet of the Lord. And then that arose in them, Bhakti Devi, devotional service. And anyways, so many different things can be explained here, and I'll stop there now. If there's any questions.
I have a brief comment about the Nimbarka Sampradaya.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the four Kumaras, and actually, one of Prabhupada's godmothers, the Keshav Maharaj, is making a statement. Nowhere in the scriptures is there any mention of a Nimbarka Sampradaya. The Puranas mention a Vaishnava Acharya called Sri Nimbaditya, and the Chatushan, the four Kumaras, have accepted this Nimbaditya Acharya as their Sampradaya Acharya in the age of Kali. And however, Nimbarka Swami is a completely different person. Nimbaditya was a disciple of Naradaji at the end of Dwapara Yuga, the beginning of Kali Yuga, but Nimbarka Acharya appeared much more recently. Great and eminent authors of bona fide scriptures, such as Srila Jiva Goswami, have mentioned the names of the prominent acharyas of all their sampradayas, but they have not mentioned anywhere the name of Nimbarka Acharya. So that's one thing that we commonly think of the things that I hadn't heard before. That actually Nimbarka Acharya is like a new guy that is not bona fide. This is from the biography of Keshav. Pradhan Keshav Maharaj.
Who wrote it?
Narayan Maharaj wrote this.
I have some questions and comments. Maybe I'll first mention the comments. So, the act of destruction or the annihilation of the universe is being wound up. The example that's given in Shastra, I don't remember exactly where, but I think it's somewhere in the Bhagavatam where it said that Supreme Lord wounds up the creation just like a tortoise withdraws itself into
spider web also.
the shell. Spider web is also good. Spider web is given in the tortoise example. So the question is that Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that one must first acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana to begin Brahman realization. So, I'm just thinking of this in the Krishna conscious perspective that we have seen how we've seen there are quotes of Prabhupada where he says that first one comes, then he is given initiation. Then after he is fixed up, he is given second initiation. And at the same time, we also see that what Prabhupada mentioned, second initiation, Brahmanic initiation, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone. So, how do you, this is first question. I have another question, maybe you can answer this first. How do you So how do you reconcile these two things? Where there's Brahman initiation is a qualification for Brahman realization. Brahman initiation is qualification for Brahman realization, and then it being simultaneously not necessary.
Yeah, I guess Prabhupada says different things, different places. So the one being made in this purport, I guess he's, in particular, for the, let me think here with a different angle. Well, I mean, you can kind of see, I mean, there's different ways to speak about it. I mean, they kind of both go together. I mean, because they're both true. In the sense, I mean, if one is displaying that inclination of a brahmana, and he's trained up properly, that can really help him in his progress of Krishna consciousness. But, I mean, whatever one's inclination is, I mean, one has to be guided by a spiritual master and the society of devotees in order to kind of utilize those abilities in Krishna consciousness more. But I mean, specifically, just kind of, I'm just thinking more of this on the side of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, there's many different examples given of devotees who, I mean, I'm thinking right now of Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, who are more or less outcasts, Haridas Thakur, but from engaging in the process of devotional service, brahminical qualities begin to develop. So, I mean, the point of the Krishna, I mean, the point is to become a pure devotee. So when one's aspiring for that, those different qualities will develop accordingly. And it is a big subject. But a Vaishnava, it's described that Vaishnava is able to do or has all the qualities of a Brahmana and things like that. There's a verse that states that. So, Srila Prabhupada, I mean, kind of more or less, and this is a big thing. I don't think I'll be able to answer it as good as I can, because I just don't have sufficient realization. But I'll just go kind of with the main point I was going with before. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, of course, they're pure devotees of the Lord, but through the association of devotees and of the holy name of devotional service, they displayed the qualities of a true Brahmana, even though they may have not been Brahmanas. So, and you also have other devotees too, like what's his name? Kulavitra Sridhar, though he was he Brahmin? I mean, I wasn't saying he's a Brahmana. I see.
No, he's not from Brahmana.
Kulavitra Sridhar is not from Brahmana?
He's selling bananas leaves, so.
Yes, that's true.
I was thinking more
Any
Vaishya.
Brahmana can accept sometimes the occupation of Vaishya, but
He was worshiping the
He
Ganges,
was a
so.
poor Brahmana is what I remember.
It's possible.
I'm trying to think of somebody in particular that was.
You can take it hypothetically. I mean, Brahmana can do Vaishya activity.
Prostitute, Haridas Thakur initiated. She's not even a man.
There you go.
She's a woman.
Yeah.
Completely degraded.
So I guess by initiation, the actual process of initiation, whatever one's occupation may be, they're being guided. I guess that's the main thing, my understanding, is that the individual being guided by a spiritual master, and so they're serving devotees. And that's kind of like the main qualification that enables one to kind of realize the absolute truth. But simultaneously, Srila Prabhupada also wanted people to become brahmanas, in the sense that they're intelligent, they study the scripture, because not everybody, I mean, you don't really read about the prostitute that Haridas Thakur initiated being deeply involved in Shastra and studying, as you see with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, that they were deeply involved, Jiva Goswami like that, and some of these great acharyas. So different people have different inclinations, and someone may display the qualities of Brahmana more, and if that's shown, then that's to be pushed forward, but kind of you have both things are there. Anyways, maybe you say something also, or something. I mean, I'm not like.
My thoughts on this was that my thoughts on this is that Brahman realization is different from Krishna consciousness.
Oh, I see.
And so I think that Krishna consciousness is a higher stage.
Yeah.
But then the process of Krishna consciousness is such that anyone can take it up as long as they're they've taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master.
Yeah.
Whereas if one has to go through the Jnana Marg for Brahman realization, which is generally what is done in the Vedic society, then one must go through the process of karma and guna and attain the stage of a Brahmana. But then coming to the point about within a Krishna conscious society.
Yeah.
So I think that my understanding is that only those who have, because of the Varnashram system, only those who have attained Brahmanical qualification to serve as leaders, as the spiritual leaders, Prabhupada mentions this also, the spiritual leaders, they are given Brahmanical initiation, but others are not. But we've already addressed the point that I think that you don't, for attaining pure devotional service, one does not need Brahmanical initiation, but then Brahmanical initiation is given so that there is a class of leaders within society, a Krishna conscious society. This is my understanding. I was curious to.
Yeah, one thing you kind of speaking that now is like, because we live in the material world, there's always higher and lower. You know,
Right.
there's designations. Not that it's all one. You know, it's kind of like thinking about that, so that people has to be designated. You know, so they can be identified. I mean, just like we dress, you know, as we dress, so people can identify this as that. So in the society also, you know, somebody has a Brahmin feather, then this is somebody that's studied scripture, or somebody that's absorbed. So there's someone to put my question to. Not that it's necessarily like, you know, I mean, you have some technical questions or something, then now that, oh, this guy's a Vaishya, so it's like whatever, you know, he's not that intelligent. But there's, you know, you go to different people for different things. I mean, as far as like what Prabhupada wanted in implementing Varnashram in the society, you know, if you have, you know, you need like, you know, you need something done, you go to the people that can do it. And then it's like, you know, you're going to go to the Brahmin and, hey man, can you like, you know, I don't know, can you, you do something? Yeah, you shave my head. I mean, when we live in an ashram, we can do whatever, but anyways. Yeah.
I have, I'll ask you
I'll ask you later.
Okay, some long ones, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go so long. Anyways, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.